Peace unto you who are sharing this land with me called Turtle Island. My name is Crystal Sage and I am on the Lenape Trail that runs along the East Coast. This land was not, is not ours. It is those who came before us, those whose tears were shed, those who tilled the land, those who taught the land, those who inhabited the land, and those whose spirits continue to inhabit the land. May they rest in peace as we learn to acknowledge your presence in our lives. May they rest in peace as we learn to acknowledge the tears they cried. And may we do the things that we can where we are, how we can, to redevelop ways for Indigenous people to inhabit their land. This is the first resource, native land. You'll see there's multiple names that are visible, as well as more information when you scroll over them. These are the names of different territories that were inhabited by different tribes or different people groups. If you'd like to know more about the history of them being in this land, you would zoom in and you would click, and it will lead you to this. It says contact local nations to verify, and you can click and find out more information. Now, I'm going to zoom out and show you languages. Filter, take off territories, and you can see the languages that were spoken in the particular region by different people groups. I'm going to take off languages and I'm going to put on treaties. This is upsetting. Of course, it could be something that we do with older learners, or it could be something that you treat as its own lesson. But this is different treaties that were enacted by the United States and I meant to say Canada. And if you zoom in, you can see more names, and you could have your learner identify different people groups and learn about the treaties that came about, which often turned into reservations, or the US or Canada completely not honoring the treaties, or some other regions and continuing to move Indigenous peoples further and further away from their Indigenous land. What I like about this map is that you can toggle everything at the same time. And you can still see everything pretty well, especially if you zoom in, the names will be more clear. Let me see. But I love that this little note right here. It says, think critically about this map. So you could, of course, click here and search, and you would put your address and you would find out where you are and whose land you are on. And yeah, I do suggest that you don't do all of the filters at the same time, because it can be kind of hard to tell where you exactly are, because they really overlap. Okay, if you want to know more about this resource, you can go to About Us, and you will see
different people who came together to influence and develop this resource. Of course, local tribes all have their input in the resources that you see here. Partners and contributors is here. You can see different people who have donated. And then different projects that have come from it. And then whose land is the one we're going to look at next. And it says, thank you all for helping improve accuracies with treaties and territories across North America. And then roadmap is talking about next steps and all of the steps that went into the founding, which all of this is very interesting history if you're interested in the background. And then you can contribute through supporting. And then there are other guides here for education. So this is the teacher's guide. And if you'd like to download it, I'll show you a little bit of what it looks like. Getting to know native land, hello from Vancouver. And then you could scroll down to look at the different lesson plans, Lands pedagogy, where do you come from, exercise 1, basic level, classroom 30 minutes. And then you can take some of these questions and adjust them based on your learner's age. So these are exercises based on the topic at hand, and they don't always say anything about how old you need to be, but they do say like advanced right here, classroom setting, 30 minutes, and you can go based on that, advanced, basic, etc. And then it will tell you on the side what you need. And then of course, you might have seen when I was scrolling that there was a journaling activity. This one's a nature walk. Like, of course, it says advanced, but these can be adapted for any age. And then at the end, there are lots of links to resources, which will help you build out your lesson even further. Okay, and so I wanted to go through these so that you have really good understanding of the resource and you don't have to spend a lot of time looking for things. But then if you click any of these, it'll give you a list of the territories, a list of the languages, a list of the treaties. And then if you wanted to contact them and needed some resources or some questions, here are their information. And then of course you are welcome to follow up with each individual tribe, which was outlined. This is the Who's Land Tracker, which was what I referred to when I said that Native Land Tracker was liking to think whose land for giving them the more accurate treaties and territories. This is it. If you'd like to see everything as a list form, the filter that you would traditionally be used to, you can put in location and everything will come up here. But this is the way that their map looks. The map is a little hard to navigate. It's already highlighted for the filter that's down here, which is treaties and agreements, but you have to click it in order to see the information. And then you can click the information to follow it to the particular website for that tribe or nation or people group, and you will be able to see more that way. But just know that you're not going to be able to see the names of anything when it is in this big form. You have to really click in order to see what each thing is referring to. And some things will zoom in really deeply. So native land is a little easier to navigate as far as being able to see everything from the bird's eye view. And again, you have to hover and you have to click in order for it to tell you what it is. And if you are dealing with a area that's more densely populated, or that was densely populated like this, you're not going to be able to individually click things and still know what you're doing. So it's you'd have to zoom in, but if you were looking for something that's very, very, very specific, using native land tracker is a little easier to see. So the one thing that I would caution about is that the residential schools should be taught as its own lesson because of the gruesome history. And yeah, that's all I can say. Just make sure you really focus on learning it instead of blend it with something else. We want to honor the land and honor the pain, but we want to celebrate the stories and understand who people were first before we delve into the pain that was inflicted upon them. So if you click where am I, it'll specifically choose your location and show you where you are. And I'm not going to click that because I don't want it to show my location. Learning is the best part about this resource. If you click this learning tab here on the left, it'll open you up to more of what I was talking about. And I'm going to read it to you so you can understand this perspective of teaching these materials. We collaborated with Anishinaabe educator, Christine Malot, I'm not sure how to say it, to develop lessons that serve to teach students about the land they are learning on by viewing and creating original land acknowledgements and being introduced to complex topics. Concepts such as who Indigenous people are, what the term settler refers to, and nations such as broken promises and renewed commitments to share the land. They've been broken down into 3 grade levels, and depending on their age, students will either create a class or personal land acknowledgement using who's that land as a resource. I really, really, really like this resource because as homeschoolers, this is a professional development area. As back what I was saying, as homeschoolers, these are K through 5, then 6 through 9, then 10 through 12, which is really nice because you can figure out where your learner lands. So I want to show you the grades K through 5 and show you how to navigate it. You can click this big thing to make it a little bigger, and you can click through it using this arrow right here. The introduction will tell you what you're learning and why, and then how long it should take, and then what you're going to need. And then the second page of the lesson for the K through 5 has really great resources where you can click here. See, it says optional mentor text, and it'll take you right to the link of a book that you can purchase that goes with your lesson, children's books. So I really like this resource because of that. That's one of my favorites. And then if you go back to the high school, the grade 6 through 9 is similar to that other one. If you go back to the high school, it is a very in-depth lesson that would span the semester or the however long you break it up your teaching with the learner. You see the duration says 6 to 7 hours, whereas the kindergarten said 1 to 2 hours. So this is asking you to engage in small group discussion, which can be done with a parent if you're homeschooling or another friend on Zoom, or in a small group co-op. And then there are discussion questions up here. And then there are, I was pointing, there's discussion questions up here. And then there's ways to learn further. It suggests movies as well as different films. And then a presentation idea. And then an inquiry project booklet is the idea of how they want you to compile it. And then there's actually a planning page, and then there's a research page for your learner, and then there's a rubric that you can use to grade it, which you can keep for your records. And so this is a very good resource. And then why acknowledge is a page where you can go straight to understand why reconciliation and honor of the land is so important. And then there are different ways to do it other than the way that I showed you in the first slide. There are multiple actually Indigenous people showing you different ways and different approaches. So that is this resource, and it is very, very, very good. And we hope you enjoy. Okay, we are going to take about 5 minutes to go through how to create a virtual field trip for your learner using the resources I provided. And these are just a few. Of course, there are many. So this is the Smithsonian's galleries, which is related to some of the things that you would see in the tracker. This is categorically the different collections, and they might be across the different museums: National Anthropological Archives, National Museum of American Indians, but it is broken down by category. This is the linguistics section, language. This is the culture and communities language. Communities collection. And I really like this one a lot because this allows you to see different people groups, not just what you might think of if your learner is from the North American area or South American or Canada. You might just think about that, but this is the Yoruba, this is Maori. And then if you go down, this is the same thing I'm referring to, collections by geographic region: Africa, Caribbean. And it just allows you to expand your mind, expand your thinking of what it means to be Indigenous. This is the Arctic collection. I really like this. Then there are the collections by topic or type: baskets, beadwork, books, publications, footwear. Music is a really nice one. You can click this, and it's also the sound recordings. You can listen to actual recordings of different things. I've done that one before. And then I said that you should teach about boarding schools and residential schools as its own thing entirely. This is a section where you could do that: Native American boarding and day schools. This collection is by where it is. So the Smithsonian American Art Museum, this is in the Museum of American History, this is in the Museum of the American Indian, this is in the National Portrait Gallery. So you could definitely go that direction. And then if you go over to this section that says tutorial, it will show you key terms and tips of how to use the search so that you can dig down and get to these things. It is kind of hard to find things with all these museums being so separate, but this tutorial will show you exactly how to combine keywords and what tools to use. Like this is telling you to use the plus sign or use the minus sign to make sure that you're getting exactly what you're looking for. Then this one's kind of interesting. If you go to this tab, it says items on exhibit. It'll show you actually where everything is. And it's not just this region. There's some in New York, there's some in some of the Smithsonian's that are in different places, but Smithsonian's being largely concentrated around the DC area. There are some other art galleries, of course, where there are things, but the Smithsonian's are mostly these little pins right here. And you could even organize an in-person visit. I've been to almost all of these as I am from this area, and they're amazing. There's even 770 in the Air and Space Museum. So this is the history of us all. So yeah, you can click here and change it. So you can see the one that's in New York, Virginia, and then the National Mall is DC. So that's that. And then the other thing is that there's some transcription stuff here that'll show you more about how everything came to be. But then if you go to gallery, the gallery goes back out to the top where it's by different people group and different topics, which will allow you to dig back down again if you wanted to go back up to the top and look up something that's more specific, like Latino community and culture, or World War I, women in history, and it'll allow you to go back down into finding the different things that you're looking for instead of going from the bottom up. Go from the top down with the categories, and yeah, really good stuff. So this is the other thing I wanted to show you quickly. This is linked within this. So this is the National Museum of American Indian through the Smithsonian. And this is what I have listed under the section that says specifically addressing Columbus Day, Thanksgiving. Actually, it says specifically addressing Thanksgiving on my slide, but the fact is that the unlearning Columbus Day myths covers all of it. So this will lead you to everything your learner needs to understand about the entire issue of celebrating these days. And then it'll lead you to different things that you could explore, which we really should focus on making sure that we learn people as they were and for who they were and not the pain. So that we learn about as a secondary to celebrating who they were. So I just want to mention that. And they teach in the same way that I do when it comes to that. So they say to include contemporary lessons and different people who are thriving, and then to also delve deep into who these people were. So this culture wants to believe extinct is flourishing, talking about Taino. And if you were to click these, the ones especially about the Taino and the Caribbean, it leads you to this other part of their website, which has resources based on different areas. So I really like this one because this gives you a feel like you're being transported somewhere. So your learner can look through here, and that could be a addition to the virtual field trip. Okay. Here is a professional development that's upcoming or recorded if you're looking for something for yourself as a teacher. And then here are lessons and resources. And I want to show you this. The search will allow you to find different things that can help you even more. Digital lessons, I'll click this one for you. American Indian removal, grade 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Academic standards that it meets. And then essential understandings, and it's letting you know what you're going to be able to take away from your learner. And then you can click and go into the lesson. And this harkens back to the lessons piece, but this all of it is useful if you've made it through this entire tutorial. Okay, and I hope you did, and I hope you enjoy all of these resources.